Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. For context, me and my dad struggle to get along, but I always love him. In 2022, he told me that in 2008, he had helped one of his female friends to get pregnant. I was born in October of 2006, and my dad was in and out of my life throughout 06 through 16. Yet during this time, him and my mom were still together, despite his unreliability. He said he was never going to tell me, but he had to, because said child was having a tough time at school, which, by the way, was the same school that I was going to at the time, and that she really needed an older sister. I'm not a bad person. In fact, I pride myself on the fact that I'm quite selfless. But I couldn't bring myself to do what he asked of me. Part of it was jealousy. He never cared this much about me, especially since I had been picked on viciously for the past 4 years, and he had told me that I would just have to grow thicker skin. And now he expected me to blindly look out for this random girl. He told me I couldn't tell my mom, and that he would tell her eventually, and I believed him. I thought he'd tell her within the next few weeks. But the weeks turned into months, and the months have now turned into almost 2 years. I want to tell my mom. From the start, I was adamant that I would tell her, but I want him to do it. He's the type of man that makes other people fight his battles for him, and takes no accountability. So this needs to be a thing he does if he ever wants me to remain in contact with him when I move out. I've told him that as well. He says it's a difficult conversation to have, and that my mom will twist it. I told him that there's not much she can twist. He wasn't there for his girlfriend and 2-year-old, but he could be there for his friend. And that you don't just casually help someone get pregnant. Last Christmas Eve, my dad went out, which upset me because I feel I'm never too old to see the sentimental value in holidays like that. I wanted to spend time with him on Christmas Eve. He told my mom that he was going to see his friend. He was lying. That friend was in Spain. My mom found out and she was so incredibly upset. We didn't know what could have been more important than us on Christmas Eve. It would have been the perfect time to tell her, and I should have. I regret it every day that I didn't. I feel like such a horrible person for not telling her. I would die for my mom, but I've always been the middleman in my parents' arguments, and this is the one thing that I won't be the messenger for. I told my dad yesterday that if he hasn't told her by my 18th birthday, that I will. He was always adamant that he would live at home until I was 18 because I needed him. And also because both he and my mom had absent parents. It's selfish, but I wish my dad never told me. Do I feel bad for not keeping in contact with my sister? If I'm honest, not really. I would make an effort if it wasn't a secret, but I won't go behind my family's back even further just to please my dad, who would never have done such a thing for me. There's no universe where he helped a friend get pregnant. He cheated on OP's mom and got his affair partner pregnant. Looks like OP's dad has another family out there. He went to spend time with his other family on Christmas Eve. Looks like OP and her mother have never been his priority. Unless OP actually wants a relationship with that girl, she doesn't have to feel bad about not having one with her, just because it's her father's other daughter, and he asked her to. OP needs to tell her mother ASAP, and I wouldn't even wait until her 18th birthday. What would you guys do in OP's situation? And now let's hear the community's opinion. Oh, honey. I'm so sorry you got a crappy dad. Please ask your mom to book you in for a therapist. You need someone to get this all out to. Maybe they can help you navigate telling your mom, because your dad never will. You absolutely don't have to help your half-sister. You absolutely don't have to do your dad's dirty work. But I think you may feel better after letting the secrets go. Guilt, even not your own, eats at you. You deserve a better dad. I'm sorry. Your dad is such an a-hole for trying to manipulate you like this. Don't feel bad for not having anything to do with your sister, and stop keeping his secrets if it makes you feel bad. He's the type who will say, "Well, OP knew for years. I thought she told you." Don't let him ruin your relationship with your mother. And the only way not to be a middleman of sorts is by stopping contact with him. From what you've written, it doesn't sound like he adds value to your life. So sorry you have to go through this. Update. Me and my dad haven't been speaking much this past week. After I told him that I wanted to tell Mom, and how I will tell her if he doesn't when I turn 18. It's been pretty easy to avoid him because he's been working nights. However, I got a message from one of his friends on Facebook this morning. He had requested me as a friend the previous night, and by the time I woke up, there was a paragraph in my inbox. This is what his message said. "Hi, my name. I'm your dad's friend, his name. I just wanted to message to ask how he was. Last time I saw him, he was not in a good place. I know you care a lot about your dad, and whatever is going on, you'll do the right thing." The message was so weird, and there was more to it where he was asking me about my college courses and stuff. But that was the bulk of it. The man that sent the message, we'll call him Steve, has been my dad's friend for years, and I need to know if I sound crazy when I say that I think my dad is getting his friends to try and make me feel bad. I've never had a friend of my parents try to reach out to me in any way, let alone like this. I've met Steve once or twice, and he's been to our house. The few times I've managed to eavesdrop on their conversations, they're always chatting crap about my mom or Steve's wife. Also, for context, this isn't the first time my dad has pulled this card. I don't know how to word it without sounding insensitive, but when he initially told me about his secret daughter, he told me he would have nothing to live for if he didn't have a relationship with me. Am I crazy for thinking he's trying to guilt trip me? Of course he's trying to guilt trip you. He is being a terrible father and a terrible husband. Don't accept Steve's request. Sounds like he is probably cheating on his wife too. This is negatively impacting your mental health. You can tell her now. You don't have to wait until you turn 18. Normal adults would not reach out to a 17-year-old to check in about another adult. They would reach out to the spouse. He's trying to manipulate you. He has no intention of telling your mom, and before it is over, he will have your mom convinced you are the troubled child, lying and acting out, so when you do tell her, he can create doubt. For all you know, the only reason he even told you was because his other daughter found out, and being at the same school, she would have told you anyway. In telling you, you now avoid the girl. So you two can't compare notes about what dad has been telling you both. Just tell your mom. Tell her you are worried about your dad. Tell her about the child, and tell her how your dad's friends are reaching out to you, worried as well. Then let her handle it. This is so far above your pay grade. You should concentrate on being a kid, what to do on your 18th birthday, college, prom, what boy likes you, etc. Not this soap opera your father dumped in your lap so he could not feel as guilty. I, 26 female, recently had twins with my husband Harry, 30 male. I love my babies so much, but the labor was a nightmare. It was extremely traumatic for my husband and I, and we've agreed that we are definitely not having any more kids. I was laboring for 2 days, and throughout the process, we kept our families updated. When they were finally able to visit, my parents and my in-laws came to see us. Everyone was fussing over the babies, and my poor husband, who only had 4 hours sleep for the whole 2 days, was napping. My dad, however, sat by me first and just held my hand for a bit. When I told him to get some cuddles in with the twins, he said, "I'm here to see my baby," meaning me. It was honestly so sweet, and I started tearing up. I didn't even realize how invisible I felt when my husband was sleeping, and my dad was there to make sure I was also being taken care of. He took me down to the hospital cafe, and we had breakfast together while the babies were with everyone else. I kept thinking about what my dad did for the next few days, and I decided that I would give my newborn son my father's name as his middle name. My husband was totally on board with this. However, this is where the problem began. We knew my father-in-law would be pretty pissed at this. He always wanted a grandson named after him, but it's pretty clear now he won't get one. He has 2 sons, my husband and his younger brother, and my brother-in-law is gay and currently says he doesn't want to adopt kids in the future. My father-in-law is also one of those people who cares about bloodlines, so I don't think he'd want an adopted grandson named after him. Messed up, I know. My husband has a complicated relationship with his father, so he wasn't comfortable naming our son after him. But we agreed to give him the same initials, so they'd both be AHD. He accepted this, but when he found out we were switching the middle name for my father, he lost his mind. He said that this was something he always wanted, and we were throwing it in his face by giving the baby my father's name as his middle name. I tried to explain why, but he cut me off and said that it was absurd to expect someone to check on me when there were babies that had just been born, and my father shouldn't be rewarded for ignoring his grandchildren. I tried to explain that it was more than just the moment, because my dad has been my best friend for my whole life, but he didn't want to hear it. Mother-in-law is saying we are a-holes for doing this because my dad doesn't care about any grandchildren being named after him, but father-in-law has always wanted it. According to her, We are taking away something from him just because my dad chose to do something unusual, which to them was ignoring the babies until he was satisfied with me being okay. He did not ignore the kids. He got plenty of cuddles in when we got back from breakfast. My dad is honored by our choice, but thinks we shouldn't have done it because of what it means to father-in-law. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Just a tiny update. We've stuck with my father's name for my son's middle name and went back to our original plan of hyphenating our surnames for the twins. Father-in-law is pissed, but who cares? Not me. Why should the demands of a grown man, who had no right to make demands, override love? I disagree that OP's father does not care about the name. He does care, because the naming is an honor that demonstrates a love and trust. He's just not the type who demands or maybe shows emotions too much. OP's baby, OP's choice. Not the a-hole. I have fallen slightly in love with your dad. What a touching moment for you to have shared, and I'm sorry it's being tainted by your father-in-law. I'm glad your husband is supporting you. Not the a-hole. If your father-in-law wants a baby named after him so badly, he could have given his name to one of his own kids. Your baby, your choice. As long as you and your husband agree on the name, everyone else can mind their own business. Not the a-hole. Namesakes should be given based on the good and positive merits of the person in question. Your dad sounds like a sweetie pie, and I love what he did for you. He sounds lovely. On the other hand, father-in-law should take his own advice. Why reward him with a namesake for his neurotic and crappy behavior? I, 26 female, and my husband, 26 male, just welcomed our first baby a few months ago. He and I are overjoyed, and I'm so in love with our tiny bundle. My family has been super supportive, bringing us dinners and making sure we had time for napping while we adjusted to parent life. My husband's family is different from mine in a lot of ways. They didn't want to visit us and only wanted us to come to them. They live about 20 minutes away and didn't really offer much for support following the birth. We were fine with it and brought our baby over when we were able to, around 3 times a month. After the first month, my mother-in-law began commenting about how much she prioritized losing the baby weight after she had her first baby. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I thought she was just voicing her experience, as many people do when they are around babies. Then she started commenting on my baby's chubby cheeks and how similar they are to mine. I felt a bit hurt, but let it slide once again. The final straw was when my husband was talking to her casually about my wanting to start going on runs again, and how we were planning on making it work, since our baby is very attached to me. She very loudly said, "You're thinking about trying to run? Shouldn't you start with walking?" His whole family was in the room and looked at me waiting for my answer. I'm an avid runner who only stopped due to my pregnancy, and her comment really hurt. When I was a teenager, I had a really bad eating disorder, one that I'm still struggling with. Comments on my body or physical abilities are hurtful to hear, and she is someone who I knew talked about people's bodies behind their backs, but I didn't think she would be so mean to my face. I'm not skinny by any means, but live a healthy and active lifestyle, so weight should not be my concern. This is where I feel like the a-hole. I don't want to see her anymore. She makes me feel like crap about myself, and my husband is backing me up 100%. His mom is angry because she thinks we're just keeping her grandchild away from her and believes it is unfair. He goes there without me, but it is difficult to take our baby because she is exclusively breastfed and refuses bottles of any kind. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It is completely your choice to avoid someone who makes you feel bad about your body. Her intentions are not relevant, and it doesn't matter if her actions are small in the context of you having had or are managing your ED. She is being very selfish and inconsiderate. Perhaps she isn't aware of the seriousness of her behavior. This absolutely isn't on you, but perhaps your husband could remind her what triggers are and that she needs to be more considerate to keep the peace, i.e., make it bearable for you to be around her. This is one of those rare justifiable petty moments. She lives 20 minutes away. She can come to you to see the little one, and the first time she makes anything close to a snarky comment about you, she can walk home again or be escorted out by a cop. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She thinks you need to lose weight. We, nearly everyone in the world, thinks that she needs to learn some manners. Put her in a timeout and tell her that each time she is rude, she will be put in another timeout. She will be denying herself access to her grandchild. People only treat you as you let them. If she doesn't want to learn consideration and manners, then why do you want her in your life or your daughter's? This happened back in February, but it was recently brought up again. My 38 male brother, 43 male, has always been a jerk. He has nice guy syndrome, but in reality, he's a jerk. He's managed to destroy every relationship he's ever had, while trying to blame everyone but himself. He has a daughter, 20, who I'll call Kay, who he saw when he felt like, which was normally when he was trying to show off to a new girlfriend, until she started to refuse his demands to see her. He blames his ex for that. He likes to pick at her and make fun of her until she nearly cries when he sees her, which I'm sure is a huge reason for her refusing to see him. The rest of the family tried to step up, and she's very close to my sister and I. Our sister got married back in February. During the father-daughter dance, my brother loudly started talking about how he couldn't wait to have the father-daughter dance when Kay got married, asking if lesbian weddings still did that. Kay is not a lesbian. She's a little tomboyish and has short hair, and my brother for some stupid reason thinks it's funny to say that, even though he's met her boyfriend. He had been picking at Kay all day about stupid things, and she finally snapped and told him she wasn't sure why he thought he'd be involved in a wedding for her at all. He certainly wasn't a good father, and he wouldn't walk her down the aisle or dance with her, and she had planned on asking me to do those things. I said I was really honored, and if she still felt that way whenever she did get married, I'd love to do that for her. My brother flipped out and said I should have refused and insisted that was his job. Sorry, but he was a crappy dad, and I think Kay absolutely should be able to choose who she wants to do those things with, even if it's not me, without feeling obligated to include someone who contributed to her DNA. My dad, however, said it was an a-hole move to accept right in front of him. Maybe it was. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The victim in this situation is your niece, not your brother. You're standing up for her with her terrible a-hole dad. He's being a real patriarchal weirdo about this. You didn't do anything wrong by accepting. Your brother needs to live with the consequences of his actions. Not the a-hole. If it was genuinely her intentions and what makes her happy, then you're doing the right thing by all means. It isn't like you undermined her father or manipulated her into wanting you to walk her down the aisle and dance with her. Not the a-hole. Your brother is an entitled douche who seems to have little to no understanding of his daughter as a person or any inclination to learn. His behavior is not okay, and your niece is brave to have stood up to him that way. You've done nothing as far as I can tell other than support her when she needed it and expressed your love for her. Maybe your brother needs to see this comment section when it gains some attention. It might be a wake-up call for him.